fun එක next level කරන dialogue fan blaster.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Sunday, the 15th of December 2024. The Indian influence. President Anuradha Dissanayake touches down in India to commence his first ever overseas state visit. MP Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam meanwhile writes to Indian Premier Narendra Modi urging Indian support for a federal constitution in Sri Lanka. The show goes on. Acting ministers appointed to key ministries including defense and finance, while President Dissanayake and his entourage tours India. Rice re-export. Sri Lanka Customs orders the re-export of 75,000 kilos of imported rice. Cites weevil infestation and labelling issues as the reason behind the order. Ambitious targets. SLTDA chairman reveals 250,000 tourist arrival target for December this year. Further reveals the likelihood of reaching the high tourism related stats reported in 2018.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. Obe Vishwasi Dinu Sensodyne, then Lagamati Pharmacy in Labagata Hacker.
Kanta Parisan Karagathot? Api Parisan.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasave Vesat Mattuig Gadarat Disney.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story this evening. President Anuradha Dissanayake commenced his first three-day official visit to India, accepting the invitation extended by Indian President Draupadi Murmu. This is the first overseas visit undertaken by President Dissanayake after his assumption of office. Following his arrival in India, the head of state has met with State Minister of Information and Broadcasting Dr. L. Murugan and Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jayashankar to hold fruitful discussions on matters of mutual interest. President Anuradha Dissanayake departed for India this afternoon, marking his first official state visit since assuming the presidency. The president reached India this afternoon accompanied by several officials including Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism Vijitha Herath, Minister of Labour and Deputy Minister of Economic Development Professor Anil Jayantha Fernando. Indian roads were adorned with decorations to welcome the visiting Sri Lankan head of state. President Dissanayake embarked on this three-day state visit to India following the invitation extended by Indian President Draupadi Murmu. During the visit, the president is expected to meet Indian President Draupadi Murmu and hold bilateral discussions with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other Indian dignitaries on a range of issues of mutual interest. The Indian High Commission in Sri Lanka stated that President Dissanayake will also attend a business event in Delhi to promote investment and commercial linkages between India and Sri Lanka and thereafter visit the Buddha Gaya as part of the visit. The official spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs of India, Randhir Jaiswal, also expressed views on President Anuradha Dissanayak's official visit to India.
President of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Mr. Anura Kumara Dissanayake will meet Rashtrapati Ji and also hold discussions with Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi on bilateral, regional and international issues of mutual interest. The visit of President Dissanayake to India shall further strengthen the multifaceted and mutually beneficial cooperation between the two countries.
In the meantime, leader of the Tamil National People's Front, Member of Parliament Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam has forwarded a letter to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The letter read that the government be accentuated to prepare a new federal constitution to protect the rights of the Tamil community in the country. The letter also highlighted the commitment of the NPP government in bringing to a final agreement the interim proposals for a new constitution drafted during the 2015 to 2019 period. However, the letter points out that as much as the 13th Amendment failed fails to meet the minimum threshold of going beyond the unitary state structure to be considered by the Tamils, these proposals also fall short of the minimum threshold to be considered by the Tamil community.
Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Aspirations Education, a pioneer in overseas education. Meet our experts at top destinations worldwide. Your trusted and caring partner in overseas education.
Acting ministers were appointed to 5 ministries while President Anura Dissanayake engages in his first overseas state visit to India. Accordingly, acting ministers were appointed to oversee the affairs of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Digital Economy and the Ministry of Defence, which are under the purview of the President, along with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism and the Ministry of Labour. Deputy Minister Iranga Veeraratne was appointed the Acting Minister of Digital Economy, while Deputy Minister Aruna Jayasekara serves as the Acting Minister of Defence. Meanwhile, Deputy Minister Arun Hemachandra will oversee the affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism as its Acting Minister. Similarly, Deputy Minister Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma and Deputy Minister Mahinda Jayasinghe will oversee matters pertaining to the Ministry of Finance and Planning and the Ministry of Labour respectively. While the President tours India, a key BRICS nation, Ravinatha Ariyasinghe, Executive Director of the Lakshman Kadirgamar Institute, states that Sri Lanka may not need to join BRICS solely for the economic partnership, but rather establish stronger political alignments when addressing global issues. He made this observation during a roundtable discussion on the topic improving Sri Lanka's economic security through its strategic location in the Indian Ocean. Meanwhile, maritime analyst and consultant retired Rear Admiral Y.N. Jayaratne, who also participated in the discussion, highlighted that despite Sri Lanka stated as an island nation, its greatest strength lies in its regional neighbours. However, he emphasized that the country has yet to fully capitalize on this potential.
Digital public infrastructure. Just an example, the digital ID project, if you can get that off ground, that can solve many of our challenges. So if you can get the digital ID, the Inland Revenue will be able to actually trace the transactions that you have. So if you, whatever that comes to your bank account, they will be able to trace. Government revenue is a key challenge that we are facing right now. That has to be done. So what we have now opted is to actually increase tax rates of the people who are already paying taxes, but what needs to be done is actually broaden the tax base. So this, if you can get this sorted out, that can really solve that issue. So that's one, government revenue. Then public expenditure. One of the major public expenditures that we have is actually the welfare, reducing corruption, I say.
I want to be clear on BRICS. You see, there is BRICS as economic, and I don't think a lot is going to happen economically because the South-South Cooperation had the opportunity to do it with or without BRICS. But politically, we have to find also ways of belonging to organizations which we will have some, when we look back, we have some people supporting. In that sense, BRIC might be a place to be because many of the people we do business with in a political sense who have helped us politically are there.
Then I will combine the 3 questions on the maritime blindness, improving the barriers and the maritime governance and government policy. Having no policy is our policy, that's been good. That is how we have survived for 75 years and I'm sure but we cannot survive for next 75 years with that. So we will have to make our mind, and maritime blindness from our top down is our biggest problem. I have spent with head of state in various capacities because of my hydrographic experience. None of them understand. It is a serious event. If you clear up that thing, there's things what you can achieve is boundless. Our neighborhood is our potential. The biggest population is in our neighborhood. So whether it is in the Arabian Sea or whether it is in the Bay of Bengal, it doesn't matter because everybody will be connected through the main sea lane of communication. So apart from this population, the population dictates what is our market potentials are. Colombo is on the 25th topmost places. It is not because of our production, but it is because of the neighborhood. These 2 deep water ports, that is Colombo South and Hambantota, have changed the entire posture, but we were not quite good enough to get the best out of these things.
Fast track your career from O-levels with eSoft.
ඩයබටිසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
ප්‍රයිම් ගෲප් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ලීසින් ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Apico Mattress. Samay sapata nidiyan Apico Springs foam mattress madiri rasakin.
Country manager of the World Bank and the International Finance Corporation for Sri Lanka states that research conducted by the IFC in collaboration with the Colombo Stock Exchange has revealed that companies with over 30% female participation tend to perform better financially. Speaking at an awards ceremony in Colombo, he further noted that while Sri Lankan firms have made significant progress in promoting diversity in the private sector, there is still significant room for improvement. Women in Management, in partnership with the International Finance Corporation, hosted the prestigious Top 10 Champions of Diversity 2024 awards recently in Colombo. This event celebrated male leaders in Sri Lanka who champion diversity and inclusion within their organizations. The initiative is an extension of WIM's Top 50 Women's Awards. Accordingly, the champions of diversity crowned at the event were President Retail Sector John Kills Group and CEO JK Marketing Services Private Limited Charita Subasinghe. Global Head of Sustainability and Facilities Virtusa Corporation Joint Country Head Virtusa Sri Lanka Denver De Silva. Group Managing Director and CEO Diesel and Motor Engineering Gahanath Pandithage. Chairman and Director of Hemas PLC Hussein Esufali and Murtaza Esufali. Director and Chief Executive Officer of Horner Plantations PLC Johan A. Rodrigo. Chief Executive Officer and Director of Print Care Ceylon Limited K.R. Ravindran. Area General Manager Hilton Colombo, Hilton Sri Lanka Mahesh Fernando. Executive Chairman of Haley's Group Mohan Pandithage. Founding Editor and Chief Executive Officer of Daily FT Vijay Newspapers Limited Nishtar Kazim. Managing Director and CEO of Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC, Sanat Manatunga. Chief Commercial Officer, Sri Lanka South Asia Gateway Terminals, Ted Muttaya. Actor and Head of Channel of High TV, Vijay Digital Networks, Danu Inasitambi.
Diversity, equity and inclusion goes beyond women's rights. While many assume we advocate slowly for women, we firmly believe in equity, respect and collaboration for all genders. Our focus is on fostering a society that values fairness, humanity for everyone.
We found, unfortunately, that in Sri Lanka, 3 out of 5 people have experienced some form of workplace violence and harassment. And bullying is one of the most prevalent forms of harassment that people recognize with, and they have experienced themselves at 59%. Outside the conception that we had that it was mostly women who face harassment in the workplace, our study found that actually men and women across all age groups face this behavior. So it's a problem that impacts everyone.
When organizations are diverse, everyone benefits. When equity is prioritized, it promotes fairness, respect, and inclusion. It also makes pure business sense. And studies have proven that there is a clear correlation between diversity and business performance. According to McKinsey, companies with representation of women over 30% are significantly more likely to financially outperform those who have lesser representation. Our joint research, IFC's research in Sri Lanka with the Colombo Stock Exchange, found that the top 30 Colombo Stock Exchange listed companies with higher gender diversity perform better financially. In Sri Lanka, our partnership for this award aligns with World Bank Group's and IFC's commitment toward promoting respectful and safe workplaces. Sri Lankan companies have progressed on diversity, equity and inclusion, but there remains room to grow.
Now, the Sri Lanka Customs has ordered the re-export of 75,000 kilograms of imported rice stocks, which are unsuitable for consumption. Meanwhile, as part of the raids executed across the country by the Consumer Affairs Authority, the CAA has identified over 300 traders who violated the price control regulations imposed by the government on rice. In view of the prevailing shortage of rice in the country, the government authorized private importers to begin importing rice from the 4th of December this year. On the 11th of December, the first batch of rice imported from India by private importers arrived in the country. Against this backdrop, Sri Lanka Customs said that weevils were detected in 50,000 kilograms of imported rice, while issues with product information labels were also detected in another 25,000 kilograms of imported rice. The respective importers were ordered to re-export the relevant rice consignments or face confiscation of defective stocks. Meanwhile, the Consumer Affairs Authority stated that more than 300 traders who violated the rice control price regulations have been identified during recent raids. CAA Director of Information Asila Bandara revealed that these traders were brought before the law during operations conducted since the 10th of December. Authorities have already instituted legal proceedings against those traders. Now, in your weather-related updates, the Department of Meteorology forecasts that a low-pressure area over the southeast Bay of Bengal is likely to intensify further and move west-northwestwards towards the Tamil Nadu coast, close to the north of Sri Lanka during the next 2 days. As a result, the Met Department urged the general public, particularly living in the eastern and northern provinces, to remain vigilant in this regard. The department states that heavy rains above 100 millimeters can be expected in areas in the northern, eastern, north central and Uva provinces and in the Matale district. Meanwhile, the Department of Irrigation opened 4 sluice gates of the Rajangani Reservoir and 2 sluice gates of the Angama Reservoir in view of the persisting heavy downpours. Taking the current weather patterns into account, the National Building Research Organization issued warning level 1 yellow landslide warnings for areas in the Badulla, Kandy, Kurunagal and Matale districts. The NBRO says that the warnings will be in effect until 4 p.m. tomorrow. Marine pollution experts claim that Sri Lanka is now better equipped with the knowledge and strategies to address further marine disasters, having learnt key lessons in that regard in the fallout of the Express Pearl and the New Diamond shipwrecks. Bethany Graves, a representative from the Ocean Country Partnership Program at South Asia Cooperative Environment Program Symposium in Sri Lanka, emphasized that the shipping disasters in Sri Lankan waters highlight the urgent need for preparedness and response programs. W.K. Ratnadira, Senior Program Officer at the South Asia Cooperative Environment Program, noted that funding remains a significant challenge for such programs. He also stressed that most disasters cannot be managed by a single country, underscoring the importance of a regional cooperative approach.
The South Asia Cooperative Environment Programme, in partnership with the UK's Ocean Country Partnership Programme, held the 2024 SAKEP Symposium in Colombo, Sri Lanka from the 18th of November to the 22nd. The event brought together marine pollution response experts, government officials and regional stakeholders from 5 SAKEP member countries to address marine pollution preparedness and response in South Asia. The symposium revisited marine pollution response framework established in 2015, focusing on evaluating national capacities, addressing challenges, and enhancing regional cooperation. It aimed to identify gaps in readiness, clarify emergency response roles, and explore opportunities for mutual aid across the region.
Large incidents can pollute the marine environment and have a range of different effects, from seabirds right down to the seabed. This can negatively impact coastal communities, their livelihood. The way we help these coastal communities is by supporting the country to become better prepared. We also work with them to better understand how to deal with the incident in a way that protects the marine environment. For us, it's about capacity building. There's many different things that make an effective response, and that starts with planning. So the work has to be done before the incident happens. Unfortunately, if we look at global trends where we have large pollution incidents, you see a big increase in funding and understanding and research after a big event. So Express Pearl, for example, look how much Sri Lanka has learned. Look at the Deepwater Horizon event in the US. Huge amounts of research and public perception came out of that. Often if countries are going through a phase where they don't have an incident for many years, they may fall out of practice, they may lose their cooperation and their strong relationships with the correct stakeholders, and therefore they may not be as response ready. So for us, as I say, it's not just being reactive, but it's being proactive is important.
Especially with regard to the oil and chemical contingency planning in the region, we have the regional arrangement which we call it South Asian Seas Oil and Chemical Spill Contingency Plan. The major constraint we are having at regional level is the funding, because we will have to rely on donors for get the assistant to conduct similar kind of program. Also, there are things like COVID incident and also have affected to our programs. The experience the Sri Lankan authorities gained during the two incidents. I believe that in future incidents like that, Sri Lanka will be in a better position to respond.
Now in your political updates, Samagi Janabalavagiya's MP Nalin Bandara claims that the Samagi Janabalavagiya will also nominate a candidate from their party for the office of the Speaker of Parliament. Meanwhile, Professor Ashu Marasinghe warns that the decision to nominate an opposition MP to the office of Speaker of Parliament is futile and naive, since no government MP will vote for such a candidate. With that, let's take a look at the latest developments in the political arena today.
තෝරංගල මහත්තයාගේ ආචාර්ය පදවිය විතර නෙමෙයි තවත් ගොඩක් අයගේ ආචාර්ය පදවි නීතිඥ පදවි රටේ ජනතාවගෙන් නොයෙක් තොරතුරු එනවා ඒවා සාවද්දයි කියලා. ඒ වගේම කතානායකවරයා විතරක් නෙවෙයිනේ නියෝජ්‍ය කතානායකවරයා. ඔහුත් විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් කියලා ඇවිල්ලා දැන් ඔන්න විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍ය පට්ටම නැහැ. තමන් වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් විතරයි කියලා කියනවා. අපි මේ සම්බන්ධව ශ්‍රී ලංකා වෛද්‍ය සභාවට පැමිණිලි කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මැතිවරණ කොමිෂමට අපි පැමිණිලි කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ മന്ത്രി ධූරය අවශ්‍ය කරන්න අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා. ඒ වගේම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා අඟහරුවාදා දිනේ අපේරුත් කතානායකවරයෙක් යෝජනා කරන්න.
එහෙම නම් දෙකක් හෝ තුනක් යෝජනා වුණොත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම රහස් ඡන්දයක් කියන්නේ. හැබැයි විපක්ෂයේ මේ වෙලාවේ අපේක්ෂකෙක් දානවා කියන්නේ නිකන් බොළඳ සිල්ලර වැඩක් හැටියට තමයි අපි දකින්නේ. කිසිම වෙලාවක 159න් එක ඡන්දයක්වත් කියන්නේ නැහැ ලියලා තියාගන්න. ඒ නිසා විපක්ෂයෙන් අපේක්ෂකෙක් දැම්මට වැඩක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
තාම තීරණයක් අරගෙන නැහැ. ලංකාවේ මෙතෙක්කල් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ නියෝජනය කරේ දූෂිතයෝ වංචාකාරයෝ සහ පෞල් දේශපාලනය තුලින් අපේ රටේ බලය අත්නොමතික විදිහට භාවිතා කරපු මිනිස්සු. දැන් ජාතික ජන බලවේගයේ ඉන්න මැති ඇමතිවරුන්ගේ සහ മന്ത്രിවරුන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපන සුදුසුකම් ගැන ප්‍රශ්න කරන සමාජයක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා කියන්නේම සමාජ පරිවර්තනය සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි සතුටුයි. ඉතින් යම් කිසි කෙනෙක්ගේ අතපසුවීමකින් හෝ අඩුපාඩුවකින් යම් කිසි දෙයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ දේවල් නිවැරදි කරගෙන අපි ඉදිරියට යන්න තමයි බලාපොරොත්තුව.
දැන් මේ හැම කෙනෙක්ම අපිට චෝදනා කරානේ. එක පැත්තකින් හොරා කියලා කිව්වා, නීති විද්‍යාලය පිළිබඳව ගැටලුවක් ඇති කර අපි උපාධි ගැන කිව්වා. සහ ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොත්ජන පෙරමුණ ඇතුළු අනිත් පක්ෂවල ඉන්නේ මෝඩයෝ කියලා කිව්වා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට උගතුන් බුද්ධිමතුන් ගේන්න ඕනේ කියලා ලොකු මතයක් හැදුවා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා සමහරු Tamanට ආචාර මහාචාරකමක් නොතිබුණත් කමක් නැහැ මේ රැල්ලට දාගන්න ඕනේ කියලා දාගත්තද කියන්නේ මම දන්නේ නැහැ. මේ පැන්නගිච්ච අර්බුදයක් දෙක්ක පත්කම් බැරකම් ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරනවා වගේම මැතිවරණ ඉදිරිපත් වෙනකොටම තමන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපන සුසුකම් පිළිබඳවත් මැතිවරණ කොමිසමට දැනුම් දෙන්න අවශ්‍ය නීතිය සම්පාදනය කරොත් හොඳයි.
Welcome back. Now, former Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India, Austin Fernando, claims that there is a possibility that incumbent President Anura Dissanayake may reconsider the 13th Amendment to the Constitution when proposing a new constitution to the country. He made those remarks speaking on our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indiva Ryamuwatta. Meanwhile, he also highlighted that under its vision statement, India has proposed development plans for Sri Lanka and emphasized that Sri Lanka must navigate those plans carefully to avoid impacting relations with other foreign allies.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe mentioned that the vision document with India should be implemented in full. What is this vision document and why is it so important for a former president to talk about an individual agreement with India?
In that document, I think for the economic development of the country, it's very good. But they are thinking of looking at various, they have something to do with Trincomalee, for instance. About Trincomalee, they say, we will develop the port. It's great things to be done in Trincomalee. And we really deserve that type of situation. But then he says, we will be going the Indian path. The moment they say, it becomes reserved for India, which may upset other people who are working with us.
What are your thoughts on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution?
When the MPs were summoned very recently by the President, he said that I met the Tamil MPs and discussed about the most challenging problems they have, but not a word about 13A. Stilwin Silva, who has said that when we have the new constitution, we will not have 13A. From 87 to 24, we have gone through 37 years and lot of things have change. So whether we can rethink about 13A is another thing. Probably the president may take up that position.
The government's pledge is to reduce corruption and bring back some of the monies that are due to Sri Lanka but are hidden elsewhere.
I think it's an excellent intention. If you can bring the money which have been taken. Now, first of all, you must prove that the money has been taken away, number one. Number two, they must find it is there. The money which was taken from here is here. So these are things, once again, takes time.
Some say, no, these presidential houses are there for a reason. But this government is of the strong belief that, no, we have to have some commercial use for these unnecessarily available properties.
Some of these buildings are really old buildings that have a special architectural value. The committee, whoever goes into detail, must keep in mind that some of these buildings are really great architecture, of great architectural value.
Now in your business news, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority and the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau, Buddhika Hewawasam, asserts that more than 250,000 tourists will touch down in the month of December in Sri Lanka, since more than 70,000 tourists have arrived in Sri Lanka so far this month already. The chairman highlighted that the country's tourism sector peaked in 2018 with 2.33 million tourists and that they expect to reach similar figures this year.
සංචාරක පැමිණීම අතින් මම හිතන්නේ අපි මේ අවුරුද්දේ නැවත වරක් මිලියන 2කට වැඩිය සංචාරක පිරිසකට ළඟා වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
I believe that we can once again approach more than 2 million tourist arrivals this year. We expect around 2.2 million tourist arrivals to this country this year. The tourism sector was slightly weakened around September due to complications with visa issuance and immigration. However, those issues were resolved once the new government was formed. A peaceful situation and an attractive environment conducive to tourism were also established. Compared to last year, we expect a growth rate of between 21% and 22% this year. So far, around 1.9 million tourist arrivals have been recorded, and in the last 10 days, approximately 70,000 new arrivals were noted. With that, we expect tourist arrivals this month to exceed 250,000. It is well known that 2018 was the peak year for this country's tourism sector, with 2.33 million tourists visiting the island. We are hopeful of reaching a similar figure this year. Looking ahead, we expect 3 million tourist arrivals and an income of $5 billion next year. The foundation to achieve that target has already been laid.
ඒ තත්ත්වයට එන්න තියෙන දිතාලම හැටියට අපිට මේ වර්ෂයේ දැනටම පෙරනිමිති පහල කරලා තියෙනවා.
And now some corporate news in brief. Boxy.lk Private Limited announced its partnership with Socomec, an Indian company in energy performance and critical power management, paving the way for Sri Lanka to access cutting-edge sustainable energy solutions that address the needs of modern industries. Boxy.lk together with Socomec hosted a partnership event in Colombo, during which Boxy.lk officially launched its e-commerce platform. Meanwhile, the Oxford College of Business was honoured at the CMA Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards 2024. The institution's 2023-24 annual report titled Transformation, Movements Through Sustainability was awarded the Best Integrated Report, Small and Medium Enterprises Higher Education, and recognised as one of the 10 best integrated reports of the year. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.